First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. Thank you very much for joining us. Wherever you're watching, we do appreciate it. We are live streaming here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. Pacific. We are live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, our website, and our apps. Right now, though, we are talking about something that the Portland City Council is going to be considering later today, and that is a potential ban on gas-powered leaf blowers in the city. We're going to talk about that, what that means, what the potential outcome could be, all right now with Commissioner Carmen Rubio. And Commissioner, thank you very much, for having some time to join us today. I know it's a very busy day with all of these meetings, but appreciate you being here. And I think to jump right into it, can you tell us about why you're so behind this gas-powered leaf blower ban?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me on today. So today, what I'm doing at City Council this afternoon is introducing a citywide policy to begin phasing out gas-powered leaf blowers to make sure that our city is healthier and a cleaner place to live. And the reason for that is because gas leaf blowers emit really toxic pollutants and particulate matter, and also has a noise that creates negative health impacts for people nearby.
And when you talk about the toxicity of the emissions that are coming out of those, are you concerned about the people who are using the leaf blowers or the general neighborhood and community as a whole?
Absolutely, and to both. So many of us are familiar with, the drone of the leaf blower outside our window, and we've been either woken up or had things interrupted. But really, it's about the people in the community that have been on the other end, not only of the leaf blower themselves. Landscape contractors who use this equipment are used to coming home with the smell of gasoline on their clothes or their ears ringing from hours of extreme noise. Not to even mention the literal health impacts. So there are those serious risks for landscape workers, but it's also for the environment and people walking by in the neighborhood itself. So we believe this policy will improve physical and mental health for everyone in the city, whether they're the actual workers, but also people in the neighborhoods themselves.
Would this ban, if it were enacted, apply to both landscape contractors and commercial purposes and also for private use?
Yes, it actually does do that. It applies to everyone, but we also have a period of education and outreach so that there's ample time for people to learn about the new policy and if needed to get resources and support in making that transition.
And how long of a time frame is that for that transition?
So in the transition itself, starting in July, all the way through December of this year will be a time for education and outreach. And then it will start to be enforced fully in January of 2026.
January 2026. Okay, so a full year in addition to
Yes.
For that to change. And as far as enforcement, how would that work and who would be responsible for that?
So the county is a partner in this, and that happened several years ago. When I first came into office, my office had been meeting with then Commissioner and now Chair Vega Peterson on this issue because we had concerns in terms of the environmental impacts, and she certainly had a health lens when looking at this issue. So we worked together. We convened a work group to consider all the ways that we might transition to electric or battery powered. And so she is going to, we work collaboratively to amend language in the city's Chapter 8 Health Code, which is to be enforced by the Multnomah County Health Officer. So it's a partnership with our two jurisdictions, but they ultimately are the enforcer of the policy.
And something else to ask just about feedback so far, and obviously, this hasn't passed or not passed yet. That's being considered later today, at the time that we're talking right now. But have you heard feedback from the industrial side of as far as landscapers and contractors that use these regularly, and about concerns they have as far as their business operations in not being able to use these gas-powered leaf blowers?
We do. We've done extensive engagement and outreach and have very carefully considered all the experiences and impacts from workers to businesses to homeowners to neighbors. This is the reason we really took into consideration and have developed that policy that we believe is balanced. We made a lot of edits and revisions based on feedback from these key stakeholders, large and small. And we feel like this is why we resulted in such a longer transition period to allow for the cycles of budgeting and planning that some of the other organizations need.
All right. Well, I thank you very much, for answering some of these questions too, and just talking about this. I know people have, a lot of opinions one way or another on it as far as these. I think one other question just about this: do you plan to have any kind of financial incentives or economic help for any of these organizations as they make that transition into different equipment?
We are looking into all options right now. And so the conversation doesn't end just with the passage of this policy. But it is a good question that we are exploring options right now. So more information to come on that once we have a plan in place.
All right, thank you. I did have just a couple of other questions just about a statement that you put out today regarding Feu Gabo and the restaurant in Portland that received ordinance complaints regarding the odor from the restaurant, regarding the food odor. If you want to answer these, if you do have time, one of them was, what specific concerns do you have about the negative impacts of the policy, the odor ordinance in general?
So yeah, the specific concerns I have, the policy. First, I'll say that I believe that they are unintended impacts. I know that they, certainly when they were first developed back, I believe in the early 90s, this policy, I'm not sure that what they envisioned happening was what happened to this restaurant. And so we want to make sure that we're crafting a policy that actually gets to core concerns and resolves in a way that does no harm to our small business owners. We really want to do everything we can, especially in this time when we're coming out, of post-COVID into economic recovery. We need to do everything that we can, including taking a second look at policies that may no longer serve us in this time. And so that's chiefly my concern. And so we're ready to dig in on that process.
And with that, as far as the digging in, is there a plan moving forward as far as should any other restaurant or food industry organization deal with this same kind of an ordinance or a complaint?
Yeah. So following learning about this incident, I directed the Bureau of Development Services to put any issues or implementation of this policy on pause. We need to take a closer look at this. We need to see what's serving community and what no longer serves. How do we make a different, better policy to get to maybe more the real intent of the policy initially, in a way that actually supports business and doesn't displace or harm or force them to close or move.
Yeah, I mean, and to that extent, I mean, you spoke to the owner of Feu Gabo. I mean, what was their response to this, and how did that feel having that conversation with them?
I think that when my staff engaged with them and with the owner of and also other stakeholders, I think there was frustration. There's a lot of effort and time and capacity and livelihood put into these businesses. This isn't just about moving a business. It's sort of shutting down a piece of the ecosystem in the neighborhood. And so while it was too late for this particular owner, part of what he's expressed is that he was just not aware of the tools that existed and the way to self-advocate. So we have our work to do. We have work cut out as a city to make sure that small business owners understand what their rights are, how to navigate the system on the city side, and that my office and their elected officials, this is what our offices are for. We're here to advocate to make sure that our systems are working the way intended. And if they're not, we need to address and change them.
Well, Commissioner, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you answering these questions and having this conversation with us here. I know you're very busy and you got to get ready for those meetings. So, I'll let you get off the hook here, get out of here. But thank you very much for joining us here on Fox 12 Now.
Thanks so much, Greg. My pleasure.
Thanks. Bye. All right. I really appreciate Commissioner Rubio having some time to
Yeah.
talk to us there. So that was fantastic. And thank you to everybody who is watching live. We appreciate you joining us. Coming up at 2 p.m., we're going to talk about voter registration, some of the differences over the last 4 years. There's some data that's coming out showing how things are working in the state of Oregon. This is across the entire state. So we're going to be discussing that. So again, 2 p.m., you can join me live here on whatever platform you are on. If this is your first time watching this show, we do live stream here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. And we're live streaming on YouTube and Facebook and our website and our apps. So I definitely recommend downloading the Fox 12 Oregon app. We're live. We get to have conversations with all kinds of different people about all kinds of different things. So we really cover a wide range here. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to start off for right now. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.